Okay, so I thought this would be a pretty decent video to record. I'll try and actually keep it short for once. So, to get right to it, the main threat here is the enemy has a bastion. Well, actually, to set this up, so they basically rolled us on second point because they have a bastion set up payload. First point, we actually had a chance, but it just didn't work out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Because we were mostly keeping bastion off. I don't exactly remember the format. It's not really important. Once they got on second with the bastion and some ultimates, things got really bad for us. But now here on third, this is one of those things, like, they have almost 7 minutes to cap third. Like, that should be, we just lose. But the thing is, team isn't actually bad. Bastion and a payload's difficult to do, for one. Two, sometimes things don't work out. You get a little rolled. But this is an object lesson, and the game's not over till it's over. Because we basically spawn camp them for, like, 5 minutes. And I don't even have an off tank, which is notable. So, primary thing is, one, realize how you lose. Like, lose condition. Bastion stays on the payload, we're guaranteed to lose. Flat out. There's no way we win this if Bastion's set up on the payload. So, my primary objective is to dive in as quickly as possible and get him off the payload. Because, there's no plan beyond that. Because I'm just going to dive, bubble, and then tickle him. And if it don't work, then we lose. And there is really nothing else I could have done other than that. Like, I think there's a certain you kind of have to just realize that, like, because there might be, we talk about engagements and, like, be careful about how you engage and, etc., and, like, look for opportunities. There is no opportunity to look for, because if Bastion is on the payload, we flat out lose. So the idea of, I'm gonna wait until, like, enemy Ana uses a nade, or Moira's faded, or like, nothing else matters, honestly. Because by the time these things occur, they've already won the game. There's no real, like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's something to it of, like, I'm gonna jump, and I'm gonna be basically in the middle of the team, which normally you don't want to be. But again, we're focusing on Bastion, and I'm gonna try and split them so that, like, they can heal Bastion. Because if you look at, like, you can kind of see through Ana's behind him, and I'm basically going to jump in between them, put the bumble down, so, Ana necessarily can't get heals through or nades or whatever. That's part of the thinking, but there's no room to wait. Even though I think Ana's dead, and I don't think she makes it back for this engagement, I don't care, because I can't wait for Ana. There is no waiting. This is, we go or we lose. And we might lose if we go, but there's no in between. The only, like, real thing I have is the fact that I have Winston ult, and that's what I'm banking on. Or at least close enough that I'll have it when I need it. That's the only thing I'm really considering. Is if I didn't have Winston ult, maybe then I wait. Maybe, because Winston ult is kind of huge to actually making this succeed. But beyond that, so it's not like there's no zero thought, but it's very much like, I'm going to take what I can get, and I'm just going to go, because there's no other wiggle room here. And so we're just going to let this play out. I'm basically going to try not to, like, pause it at all, just so this isn't like a 40-minute video. So yeah, we focus on him. The fact that he left the payload is huge. I don't even know why he did. He got dynamited, but he should have stayed there. That's a huge mistake on his part. He should have just stayed. And now that I just got him off the payload, that's all I wanted to do. I get out just to stay alive. Luckily, Zarya pushes too far ahead, and she dies for it. That's, they make a fair amount of mistakes there. She thought she just would win because she has full energy. The fact that doesn't hit me is nice. Bastion is continuing to make mistakes. Dan has distracted him. Just, like, pause it just for a second. Two fronts. I am behind him. Tracer's in front. He's shooting at Tracer, and he doesn't shoot at me. So I win. Even if he turned around to shoot me, he actually would have killed me because I was so low on HP. But then Tracer comes around and starts shooting him again. So maybe then I die, but Tracer kills him. But two fronts. Like, such an advantage. That's, like, why Winston's good that we win that. Even if I had died there, we probably still have won that, I think. But yeah. At this point, now we're just, like, focusing, one, again, anyone who gets stupid and, like, wants to get picked off like that, I am more than happy to oblige to pick them off if I can. But they are starting to respawn a lot. But, I need to get rid of this so we can see their cooldowns. I got nanoed, so I just go in. I don't care. Normally I would have waited till bubble, but I had nano, so it didn't matter. Nano Winston is extremely strong. We start walking out, but I have Q, and then we just go back in. Because I'm just going to hold. And we try and stuff Zarya, but I get slept, you know. So, it doesn't work out. But we get a fair amount of kills here. And there's no reason to leave yet. There really isn't. Because the threats aren't that great. And as long as I can keep leaping and keep using these boxes that are here, because normally like spawn camps don't work because of like the spawn doors are usually fairly open, but these crates are such great cover. And I think right around now, I think like my next leap, I'm gonna realize that I can just get on top of the boxes. Yeah. Or no, it's the next one. It's the one after this one. Because I'm just stuffing them in between the two hallways. Yeah, now we're like, let's get on the boxes. And we can keep tickling them. And we're super covered. Like, the flame strike won't even hit me. Because it's so hard to feed through that. And then we notice Ana was called out, so I go and kill her. You know, I'm not calling out any of the shit I'm doing. I'm just doing it. I don't care. Bastion, honestly, Bastion ulting is a mistake because he's actually more vulnerable. And once again, I Q just to make sure I can kill him and not die. And just keep this going. Kudos to Ana for just keep constantly nanoing me. It's a pretty big boost. That was a mistake when I left there. That was a mistake I made. Because I needed to get out. And I stayed in the middle of them. Like, I mean, Leap does 40 damage. I think that was, like, the thinking at the time. But I needed to get out there. Because team was, like, backing up. I don't know who we lost, but team was, like, backing up. And I couldn't... Like, the other front had collapsed, basically. So I needed to, like, go back and reinforce the one front and then leap and win later. But it's fine. Because, you know, part of, like, the spawn camp is that they're not pushing the payload. They're not even touching the payload. Now, if they're not touching the payload, it moves backwards. You know, it's a huge part of payload management. If you could prevent them from even touching the payload, that's great. It moves backwards. So if you can take a fight off the payload, take it off the payload. You know, if the terrain still favors you, and it does here with all these crates and I actually do that twice where I Winston ult before I get pinned. I heard the pin coming and I just hit Q. But yeah, and then we're just, you know, I leap, but then I'm like, nope, and I just don't go forward. I just kind of decide not to do that. So we're just frontlining right now, and it's working out fairly well. But also they've gotten a Junkrat. They've finally switched off to Bastion. And this is actually making them significantly more dangerous. Even the Zen now is also like Zen plus Junkrat is now, there's so much more damage. And my life becomes more pain. But the Nano at least helps us win that fight. But our tanks have actually, like, the enemy tanks have pushed in and have killed my team. Which I have not noticed yet. I want to kill this Moira and I want to not have Tiny die, but it doesn't work out for Tiny. Once Zen's back, I just gotta leave and then go back to the payload. Also, I have ult now, so I'm probably gonna hit, yeah, that's the other pin. I hit Q and I don't die to the pin. But I do get blown up. Discord plus Junkrat, I get blown up. It's a little unfortunate. But that's, like, this is the power of switches. Like, you know, they're fairly smart. Like, I don't know if Junkrat was truly the right call here, but the Zen definitely is. Discord on a monkey, that's the only tank. Yeah, it's gonna be a problem in my life. Gonna be a problem. I focus Bob because the dragons are mostly killing him. So, we get Bob out of there. We go back to Reinhardt, but we don't kill him, but he's close enough. Our own Bob keeps them off the payload. They have to push back because they don't have Rein anymore. Like, this is a pretty good defense on our part. Except for, you know, two major mistakes. One was that one leap of not getting out. Well, that Nano, I wish that Nano came like a second later because I didn't quite have leap back. But this res is huge. I mean, I die, like, I think I die again immediately, but still. I shouldn't, I guess that's a mistake leap too, because I'm still in the middle of the team, and that was bad. I should have just gone beyond Ryan. Maybe I was banking on getting, I might have been banking on getting the ultimate quick enough. But I wasn't tickling the whole team, I was mostly just tickling Reinhardt, so I screwed it up. That's probably the third mistake on that leap. There's a lot of opportunities to kill people in this chaos, but I didn't want to get off the payload. So like Zen, I think got purpled, and I would have rather have killed Zen, but I had to stay on the payload, and then I saw that people were back enough that I was reasonably sure someone would be on the payload, and then I saw Ryan was low, and I focused Ryan. This is why we lose right here. I'm nanoed, and I'm like, I'm nanoed, I'm invincible, but then the nano goes away, and I thought team was like right behind me too, but only like Tiny came with me, and that's not enough to kill Reaper. I guess Ball was there. I didn't see Ball behind me. I guess that's what the problem was. Ball came in behind me, and they all killed Ball. Yeah, that's what it was. I didn't notice that before, but Ball, because Ball died, so they switched to Ball. He was on the payload, that's why no one followed me, and then Reaper kills me, and then Reaper kills everyone else. Because Reaper can do that. That's why Reaper's meta now. He can literally just shoot people in the face, push Q, and shoot a bunch of other people, and then just win. It's like Reaper literally kills 4 people by himself. So, you want why Reaper's better, that's the reason. I don't know how useful this was. I think it's interesting. One, no fight is, no game is truly lost until it's lost. If this was competitive rules, I mean, we got them to overtime, so that's fair enough. Could have been complete capture prevention if I had played slightly smarter, but, one is, like, anytime you can split DPS focus is essential. This is why, DPS takes space too in some regards of, when you're taking off angles, when snipers and stuff are on high ground and enemies are forced to contest them, that takes pressure off the main tank, which is important. Because if everyone just shoots the main tank dies. It doesn't matter how many heals you get. So, anytime anyone takes pressure off of anyone else, it's essential. It's huge. Anytime you can create a separate front, the more separate, the better. Any degree, the better, the closer to 180 you get, the better. But even if it's only 45-degree difference, it's still, it changes the focus. Use your corners as much as possible. Use the terrain as much as possible. Always mitigate as much damage as possible. Because if you look at that, like if you go back and like look at my health through so much of that, I get so low so many times, and it's literally the difference between like one shot from Ashe that could have killed me. And just by playing those corners, she missed once, and that's why I survived. Because I was playing the angles and not being easily shot. Not being a bot and just like walking up to them and just tickling. Trying to play as much as possible. Getting even smarter, like being on the boxes. I probably should have been on the boxes sooner. I should have been on the box. I kept stuffing them into the 1 or 2 chokes, left or right. I should have been on the boxes a lot sooner. I could tickle everyone then, and it's still extremely hard to hit me. Always make sure your cooldowns are there. Like, know what you can get away with. If you have bubble, like, don't leap without bubble, because that means that, again, you're more likely to die. If you have Winston ult, you can take way more dangerous actions because you can just Q to save yourself. What else? Oh, payload management. Taking the fight off the payload is frequently worth it. Spawn camping is ambitious. That's what really needed to be done to take them off the payload. But a lot of times once the spawn camp, they killed me, they were in negative progress because they weren't on the payload that whole time. So it was going backwards. Payload is useful as it is like natural cover. And so that's usually a lot of times you play around the payload and it prevents backcaps potentials. But if there is just as good cover, like angles and stuff, and like those boxes that exist, take the fights there and let the payload move backwards. Super valuable because they got so little progress through most of that because of that. They got negative progress through a lot of that. And then when they finally got to push the payload, all they were doing was pushing it back to where it was before. So it really didn't get them very far. I think it covers it pretty well. Hope this was useful.